I wanted to make a drawing of something which had lots and lots of stuff in it. So in this case, it was a messy part of my garden with lots of flowers. I began by outlining some of the bigger shapes in the foreground, and I looked quite carefully at them, so I tried to be really quite specific. So I wanted the marigold heads to look like the right shape rather than a generic sort of flower head. Obviously they're edited down because I'm working quite small and in pen, so they're simplified versions, but I wanted them to be recognisable so people would see a kind of distilled essence of the shape and think, oh okay, it's a poppy seed head. And that meant later on I could do a more simplified version of it somewhere else and people would still understand what it was. I gradually worked further back into the composition and the lines and shapes became smaller in scale and even more simplified. I changed to a finer pen and I spent quite a lot of time building up marks and tone in the negative spaces to create contrast. So in the foreground I blocked in darker tone around the marigold heads so they stood out more, and so that we have that light dark contrast which catches the eye and pulls it forward in the drawing. And it also pulls it away from the rest of the detail, almost like you're creating a silhouette. And this is really important so the whole drawing isn't uniform all over, otherwise it would be overwhelming to look at. So by building up these sort of little pebble shapes in the foreground, I was creating really literally light and shade so that people know where to look. And what you're doing is you're making little focal points really, or pathways within this whole big morass of things that's going on in the drawing. And I continued to add in more detail and little marks to increase the visual interest, so I tried to keep them varied, and also to build up this pathway of varied tone to lead the eye through the drawing. And you'll see that I concentrated more of the mark making in the foreground, and as we move back everything becomes spaced out and you can see more of the white paper.